Thank you so much for having me. For those of you who don't know who I am Leah Kramer. I am the managing broker for the Goodyear, Arizona office. And once upon a time, I was an agent just like you, out in the field doing my thing. And one thing I very quickly realized was what we're all coming to realize here in the wake of some certain lawsuits is it's list to last. And with that in mind, I want to make sure I am winning all of the listings possible. So let me Can you all see my screen? Excellent. I feel like I should always come with a warning, so there it is. You're welcome. Justin, I believe you have all of the registrations that include email addresses for everyone on the call today, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Perfect. Okay, so for those of you who are with us, aside from the link that Justin will be sharing, if you wanted to watch this class again, everything that I share, discuss, have samples of today, I will send to you via email within 24 hours via a Dropbox link. So you don't have to take a whole bunch of screenshots or, take feverish notes. Just join in, enjoy, and we'll work our way through it. So the primary purpose today, and if am I able to launch a poll, or do you need to launch a poll? How does the polling work on this?
You should be able to launch as a co-host, but let me pull it up and I'm gonna launch it.
Okay, perfect. So I just have really one poll question for all of you, and it's, do you already have a pre-listing package that you deliver to a seller prior to your listing appointment? Yes or no?
Coming in. They are coming in fast.
I try to make the
Alright.
questions easy, like there's not a ton of options.
All right, so far 60% no, 41%. All right, lots of no's. Majority is
Lots of
no.
no's, but a decent number of yeses. So that's awesome. Hopefully you take away a few extra things today, and also feel free to share either on the call itself or in the chat box if there's something that I'm missing from my package that you have in your package that you feel has really set you apart from other agents when you are appearing for listing presentations and you have that particular slide or whatever that content may look like. I love to learn and I love to add things as we go. So let's close out of here without further ado. Just a couple of basic things. Don't mind me as I'm moving people around on my screen. One of the things that I will share with you in this Dropbox link that I send out is a pre-listing questionnaire. You can modify this however you see fit, but the primary purpose is when I get that initial call from a prospective seller, I want to get a few things out of the way. And really, this is just preemptive, right? Some people are much easier to work with than others. You've probably discovered that if you've been doing this for more than 5 minutes. But I want to know what I'm walking into. And the best way to be proactive about that and to have a better understanding is by just asking some simple questions over the phone. I'm not anticipating that this is going to take you 15 or 20 minutes to address. This literally should just be a small handful of pre-selected questions so that you gain better insight into the person that you are going to be meeting with when the time comes to do that actual in-person listing presentation. One of the most critical questions I have found that I want answered right away is, how much do you think your home is worth? That is such valuable insight to have in advance because I need to know what I'm walking into. I'm either going to be a savior or I'm absolutely going to be the villain, and I want to know so I can best prepare. If you are familiar with DISC, and if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I would encourage you to get familiar with DISC. But those are behavioral, they sometimes are referred to as personality types. It's really not personality. Like, I feel like you can change your personality, but these are ingrained behavioral styles that each of us have. And each of those 4 behavioral styles adapts and learns and is receptive in different ways to information. And if you learn how to determine what another person is, you can start to modify your behaviors and your responses accordingly. It's a totally different full-on hour, 2-hour class some other time. But what I want to know is, how much do you think your home is worth? Because I've got to come in with everything I need evidence-wise to support why they may be right or why they may be wrong. Periodically, you will bump into someone who says, well, that's why I'm hiring you. They're going to push it back on you. And that's okay. Just make sure that even if they don't come up with a number, most of them will. They'll tell you kind of, well, I see, my neighbor's home sold for this, or this is down the road, or they're going to give you some general idea. But bare minimum, check Zillow. Somebody had said that Zestimates have gone away. They haven't gone away. I don't know where that thought process came from, but definitely check Zillow because I promise you they have. So right off the bat, I at least know one source that they are likely to check, and I'm going to verify my numbers against that as well. Again, just so I know what I'm walking into. Another critical part, tell me about your home. Okay, I think it's fantastic if you can do a two-part listing presentation where you actually go to their house without the concept of actually getting the listing then and there, but just as a walkthrough so that you know how they are going to compete against previous solds or currently listed properties. But if not, I've asked them, send me some photos, specifically kitchen, master bathroom, front yard, backyard. I'm trying to gain a sense of how we're going to stand against the competition. And photos are worth 1,000 words. So that is the best way to do it. I recently, or give me some recent remodeling and upgrades. Be very cautious about asking, do you have upgrades or have you recently upgraded the home? And I'm going to give you a prime example. I once asked this question to a seller and their response to me was upgrades. Oh my gosh, yes, we've upgraded almost everything. Now you and I as agents are thinking upgrades, probably more aesthetic or cosmetic upgrades, right? Things that are attractive to a buyer. They had done so many things to this house that could not be seen. They had redone all the plumbing, all the electrical. This was a $220,000. I'm dating myself, guys. It was a $220,000 house at the time. And they put a $14,000 Trane HVAC system on this house. Now, in their minds, how much do you think that was going to be worth when they sold the home? At least $14,000. So having that tough conversation with them about what an appraiser deems as routine maintenance on a house, as opposed to what a buyer would determine as an upgrade and or an appraiser would determine as an upgrade to actually warrant a change in value. I needed to know those things in advance. I was ill prepared for that because when somebody tells me they've upgraded everything, I went in with a preconceived notion that was totally wrong. So learn from my mistakes, ask the question, but if possible, get more into the nitty-gritty of specifically what and when they have made those upgrades. And then where are you moving? This is a multi-layered question, right? Because I'm trying to gauge how vested they will be in the sale of their home. So if they already have plans that they're moving out of state, they're already ready, willing, and able. Like we know that. So the conversation may be a little bit different than somebody who I can feel is wanting to just test the market or they don't really have a game plan. But this is also critical because if they're staying local, even if they're not, quite honestly, but certainly if they're staying local, do they have an agent to assist with the buy side? Because some of my conversation during my listing presentation may change a little bit based on how we work out working together on two deals. Or if they are moving somewhere else, but they don't already have an agent or don't have a home, then I can certainly reach out to my vast referral network and try to get a referral fee and pair them up with a great agent somewhere else. So most of these are qualifying questions, and some of the other questions on the sample questionnaire that I'll provide to you. I want to know, do they have to sell right now? Okay, this is hypercritical in this market. I can't speak nationwide, but certainly in Arizona, and realistically, I will go out on a limb and say most areas across the country right now. While we're in what I would call an artificial seller's market, meaning prices really aren't dropping, active inventory is certainly picking up. We're not seeing the multiple 20, 30, 40 offers on a home that we were seeing in the midst of COVID and right after that. And interest rates, or the volatility of those, are certainly wreaking some havoc on many of our markets. So with all that in mind, I may convince them not to try to sell right now. That's what they're coming to me for as the professional. They want my advice. They want my opinion. And if we're not seeing eye to eye on pricing, or if they're not in a position where they really have to sell, then this may not be the market to do it in. So I just want to have those questions. And I also need to know financially where they're sitting, because at least in my market, there's a very good chance we're going to have to negotiate, compromise on something. Price, concessions, buying down the interest rate, whatever that looks like, we're going to have to do something. And I need to know what that financial barometer is so I can determine this is likely or it is not. We're already seeing short sales in my market because they bought in the height of 2021, 2022. It's been a couple of years, they need to move. But they owe more or potentially the same that they bought it for, but now they have commissions and closing costs. So all of these are factors that I'm trying to know in advance, so I'm not stumbling through it when I actually meet with them in person. When I meet with them in person, I want to have game plans, action plans, solutions to potential problems already at my disposal so that I'm prepared to discuss those things with them. And then at the very end of this qualification, this questionnaire process, of course, it's setting the listing appointment. Oh, maybe. Hello. Okay, no, just kidding. If we're setting the listing appointment, I want it to be ideally at least 48 hours from now. I'm not turning down an appointment if there's a great sense of urgency and they have to get it listed very quickly. I'm not encouraging you to do that. But in an ideal world, I will have about 48 hours to do and prepare everything that I'm about to show you. One other thing I want you to be aware of, and for those of us who have been doing this for a minute, we have no problem turning down potential business because you will get a feeling in your gut when things are not going to end well, even in that preliminary conversation, potentially, but certainly after you meet someone and you discuss pricing and commissions and these things. And if they are just one problem after another as you're discussing this with them, they may not be the type of seller that you want to work with. And like I said, you will feel it. You just know. So one of my favorite sayings, and it's saying no with grace, and this is especially relevant in this market, is Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I'm in the business of exceeding expectations, and I don't believe I will exceed yours. I'd rather turn you down now than disappoint you later. So thank you for your consideration, and I wish you the very best. I am not over-explaining. I am not blaming them. I am ultimately just saying no as best as I possibly can. And not, like I said, I don't need to expand on why. And they may ask you, and I'm just going to repeat what I said. Like I said, I'm in the business of exceeding expectations, and I just know I'm not going to be able to exceed yours. And I have a list of agents that I really don't care for, and I would be happy to refer them to you because I'm sure they'll be happy to deal with you. I'm kidding. Don't say that last part. I gave you all the warning before. Justin, I'm so proud of myself. I haven't dropped a 4-letter word once yet.
Are you feeling okay?
I know. I feel like maybe jet lag is still hitting in a little bit and I can't quite wrap my brain around it. All right, so the next phase. So those were all parts of step 1. That's the preliminary component to actually getting in front of somebody. The second part is now we've got that gap. So remember, I told you I tried to get at least 48 hours in between. So I have time to do all this stuff. And one of those things is my research and preparation. So I would like to drive by the house if possible, just because I want to gain a sense of what does the community look like? How is it kept up? What does the front of the house look like from a curb appeal perspective? Very often I can tell how well maintained a home is on the interior based on the exterior. Not always, but it's a fairly good indicator. And then I also want to go ahead, and I know everybody does comps differently. There's gorgeous products and there's RPRs and cloud CMAs and true appraisals and all of these other programs and products. What I have found to be most beneficial to me is actually just finding the 3 most similar homes that have recently sold. And then I'm going to print out the MLS pages for those. And I'm not going to give a value. I am going to discuss how we are superior and inferior to each of those properties as a joint conversation at the table with my prospective seller and help them arrive at a price based on that conversation. Okay, I'm not a dictator, I'm a consultant. So I am trying to educate them as much as I know so that they can then arrive at that decision. So it's never a, hey, this is what we should list for. Again, I mentally have a range. And if they start to veer way outside that range, we're going to revisit these 3 homes and I'm going to put them on the spot. Say, well, what is it about your home that you feel makes it worth $50,000 more than this home? And if we just can't circle back to that mental range that I've set, then that's going to be when I say no with grace. Because I'm not looking to waste my time and efforts. We all know, guys, if their home doesn't sell, whose fault is it? It's ours. It doesn't matter that we've tried to educate them. It doesn't matter what we've told them. It doesn't matter the feedback that we've shared or we told them at the onset they're totally overpriced. You accepted that listing, knowing all of those things. And ultimately, that listing has not sold. So don't take a listing thinking it's going to get better. One way you could potentially avoid this, and I don't know what all of your markets are, so again, talk to your broker, but one thing we do in Arizona and that I've seen and is successful is if we think they're pricing not outrageously out of range, but maybe a little out of range, we're still willing to take the listing. You can actually write into your listing agreements a preset price reduction. So it may be every 7 days, it may be every 2 weeks, it may be on designated days. For us, Thursdays are always the best days to make changes in our MLS. So I would actually have it in my listing agreement that every Thursday or whatever that date, those calendar dates are, the price will be reduced by $5,000 or $10,000 or whatever that increment is until a buyer is secured and the property is under contract. So like I said, if we're way off base, I wouldn't even take the listing. However, if we're just a little outside of what I think is an acceptable range, then I would go ahead and look at doing something like that. And then we have expectations set and obviously already agreed upon, so that way we can proceed with those price reductions as necessary. Some other things, I don't know what you all have access to. In Maricopa County, I actually put together a market report. I personally have been monitoring market activity for 11 years now, actually a little longer, but I've been reporting it for 11 years. So just seeing the cyclical nature of how markets work. So we know March, April, and May are our busiest selling seasons. You can see what has gone on with pricing. But these types, the other one is the Cromford report. That's a amazing resource that we have available to us in Arizona. But these are the types of numbers that I would be sharing, not to overwhelm. Keep that in mind. We see stats and it's a little easier for us to understand what they mean. I'm not just throwing numbers in front of a seller and hoping for the best. I'm going to explain specific to their subdivision, specific to their house, their area, what these numbers actually look like, what they mean, and what that means for our pricing and time on market. So that's what they need to understand. Again, I'm educating them as best as possible. What I know, I want them to know. They may not understand it, it may not resonate the same way, but I'm at least sharing as much as I can so that they can make informed decisions. All right, so step 2 is all of the preparation. Every time I say drive-by, I grew up in an area where drive-by means something very different than what we do today. But you are driving by the home, the neighborhood, gaining a general sense of what things look like. You're doing your mathematical research. You're coming up with the 3 best properties to compare them to, and you're readying yourself for that discussion. Then we're going to go into step 3. Step 3 is the listing process. Justin, I see that some things are popping in the chat. Is there anything I should hit on now before we move to step 3?
They were just asking what you were referring to, I think, with the Cromford report, and I just said it's available in Arizona specifically.
Okay, good deal. And there, I don't know for other areas, you might have something very similar. We just have an excellent, I'm going to call her a mathematician, but really she's a wizard. You may have something similar. So I would definitely check with your broker and possibly your MLS to see what stat type of documentation they can provide to you. All right, so going into our step 3, this is the main component of this entire class, and that is creating and delivering a pre-listing package. I am going to share with you the one that I used for years and years before I kind of stepped out of being an agent and into being a broker, and also some ideas that I've come across since then that I think are just super cool and that you should look to employ. But a few things that you'll want to include in that: a cover letter, a handwritten thank you note, just for giving you the opportunity to meet with them and discuss selling their home, and your actual marketing proposal. Once upon a time, when we all liked NAR, the president came and spoke on stage about vernacular and how we take for granted the verbiage that we use in our industry, and we assume that the general consumer, the general public, speaks that same language. They do not. So he said, stop referring to your pre-listing package or pre-listing presentation as a pre-listing package or presentation. Tell them what they need to know and call it what resonates with them. And that's a marketing proposal. So one thing that I strongly encourage you all to do, regardless of what we kind of call it in our industry, when you are speaking to a seller and you're going to let them know that, hey, I'm dropping something off for you, that something that you're dropping off is not a pre-listing packet, it's your marketing proposal. I recommend that this marketing proposal be color printed and bound. I bought a binding machine at Staples before inflation for roughly $60. And I was just able to do this at home. So I'd print it out on my computer, stick it together, and then that would be what I would deliver. Obviously, Rock Title can assist you with this. They have different options. Let them know what you're looking for. You can personalize these, which I'll get into. You can just have a kind of a generic one, whatever works best for you. But if you leave today with nothing else from this, use marketing proposals and drop them off at least 24 hours before your appointment, at least. If it is an appointment with someone who lives out of state, have a PDF version of it so that you can send it to them via email. This little box, so when I was doing this, I'd have all of these things in a basket, and I would leave the basket by their front door, and I would let them know that I left the basket by their front door. I recently saw an agent who was using these boxes. You can buy them on Etsy. I'm sure you can buy them on other places if you Google it. But I thought this was super slick. So your bound marketing proposal booklet, your thank you note, if you want to throw some whatever crap you have, pens, magnets, whatever, this would be a great way to do that. And I just think that this is something that really stands out. So when you leave it at their front door, it's completely branded to you already, and everything they need is inside this box. Again, you're going to have samples of some of these, and these may vary a little bit by state, but for the cover letter, it's really just letting them know. I had mentioned in the class description, we're talking about mutual expectations. I need them to know what I'm going to need from them at the listing appointment, as well as in the short future. So this is just a sample cover letter. Hey, looking forward to meeting with you, blah, blah, blah. Here are some of the things that we're going to need: a spare key, recent mortgage statement, HOA statement, copy of trust LLC docs, those types of things. One thing that we include, again, Arizona specific, is I want them to contact their homeowner's insurance company and get their claims history letter. So I'm putting them to work on certain things. I haven't even met these people yet, and I'm already telling them what I expect them to have done by our first meeting. So as far as professionalism goes, I promise you the average agent is not doing these things, aside from leaving a gorgeous package for them to review. They're not doing any of these things in advance. So you are already paving the way that you are the professional to help them with the sale of their home. Okay, so now I'm going to share with you a couple of different listing presentations. You're welcome to add into the chat or raise your hand or whatever. How many of you are aware that there is already a gorgeous listing presentation inside your One Creative Studio in your One Login?
Sort of.
I love it. Thank you, Diana. I see your face right there first and foremost. So I appreciate those who are on screen. Excellent. So if you didn't know, this would be a good time. I was on like a kind of pseudo committee that helped create some of the content for this. What I love about it is it's gorgeous. You're going to see mine, and we're going to laugh because I just saw a meme out there, and it was talking about how I referred to a PowerPoint presentation as a PowerPoint presentation instead of a slide deck. And now everybody knows I'm over 40. I still don't fully understand. My definition of a slide deck is very different. It's when you put a slip and slide on a balcony and you slide off of it
Never
into a
heard
pool
of
below.
slide deck.
I'm not alone. I'm
No,
not
I'm
alone.
way
Look at
over
people.
40.
For my youngins on the call, a PowerPoint presentation is synonymous with a slide deck. And I'm sorry that you all didn't get to experience the type of slide deck I did when I was younger. But that to say, my version is a PowerPoint presentation. The version that is available to you from our amazing creative team at Realty One Group, it's PDF compatible. So ultimately you can add, exchange, swap out pages, customize everything. It's gorgeous. It's stunning. You have full creative power over it. So it's fully dynamic. And I will share with you 32 potential slides that you may ultimately want to incorporate into your presentation. So let me go ahead and show off what one of these guys looks like. So this is what you have access to as a Realty One Group agent. You can all see this one marketing proposal. Looks like a skyline in maybe New York. No, that's not what we're seeing.
We're still on the open house slide in PowerPoint.
Okay, hold on.
I have to reshare.
Resume share. Let's try this again. Now,
Nope. Third
let's
time's a
new
charm.
share it. Let's new share it. Okay.
Oh,
There
There
we
we go.
go.
Excellent. Okay, so I have no idea where this is. Like I said, it could be Chicago, it could be New York. I have no idea. It's not Arizona, it's not Nevada. That
Not
I'll say that
Addison.
much. So, but all of these things, you can go in and you can play with this and you can change it. So obviously you can make this a very Arizona looking home, or even better, remember I told you to do a drive-by and not the like South Central drive-by that I grew up with, but a drive-by of the home. You can snap a photo of it or potentially find historical photos of the front, and you could personalize this. So on that cover, it is actually a photo of their house. Again, if you want to take that one extra step to look extra professional, that's a great way to do it. So now it's been totally personalized and customized to them and their home. But here are just some of a lot of this is very Realty One Group-ish, which is fantastic if you're a newer agent and you don't really have anything to say about yourself yet. But as you grow and as your business increases, I would strongly encourage get rid of some of the fluff that I don't tell marketing or Kuba that I called it fluff, but get rid of the fluff and focus more on what makes you stand out. I would just like to say, if Robert Downey Jr. ever wants to sell a home, I am definitely his girl. I don't care what my role is at Realty One Group at this point. He is my hall pass. And yes, RDJ, call me. I love you. Bye. All of your bio information you're sharing. This is a great place to have some testimonials on there. You can see that it's whatever nonsense clutter language they're incorporating on here now. But again, this is all editable. You may want to brag a little bit about Realty One Group, especially if you're in a market where Realty One Group is highly prevalent, because that means you're not just relying on you and your name to get the deal, to get that listing, but you're relying on a vast network of other professionals. I don't know what I think about this. So I'm typically not one who encourages sharing pricing information prior to our meeting, kind of for the reasons we discussed, right? I want it to be a conversation. I don't want it to be that I'm dictating, and I don't want to potentially hurt myself in the process by giving them values that may not be in line with what their home will generate. But if you are going to do it, my recommendation would be do it in a similar fashion to this, where it's just a few recent sales, very brief blurb of information about those. And don't break it down, don't explain what that means. Just have a couple of those little informative pieces incorporated into it. I never provide a CMA in advance unless I'm specifically asked for one, and they won't even meet with me unless I provide it. Even then I'm hesitant and I explain why. Like, I can't give you an accurate value without knowing what your home is made of. I need to see the features, I need to see the condition, because that's how pricing is determined. So I always try to sidestep that if they are really pushing for that. But if they just want the price, they just want the price. Okay, so again, some of the features, this is why, oh, imagine how cool it would be if you had that conversation with them in advance. They sent you photos like you asked them to, and you actually put those photos into your presentation and discussed the highlights of those features and specifically how they are beneficial to selling within this geographic area. Like a pool, for many of us, would be a very big deal. I would probably highlight that. The marketing strategy. And this, I'm going to give you a ton of examples of this, but again, this is just really pretty. It's just really well done. So you can go in and you can play with all of these different things. I think this slide is probably the best one, maximizing online exposure. If you weren't already aware, as a Realty One Group agent, you already have free access to ListHub. ListHub is a major listing syndicate, which means that it is syndicating to all of these other websites. And the beauty of this is it's multi-layered. So once it goes out to some of these bigger syndicated sites, those sites also syndicate to others. So I don't even know how many thousands of sites your listings may be appearing on right now, but it is thousands of sites. Some so like obscure as, oh, the New Jersey Post. I mean, it's just random things all across the country. For higher price listings, you also have ListHub Global. So that's syndicating to other markets in other countries. If you are in Arizona, and realistically, guys, this might be everybody, for ListHub, when you get your first listing with Realty One Group, you need to activate your ListHub account. Okay, so you just go to listhub.com. It's going to ask you for your MLS ID, which MLS you're a part of, and then it's going to ask you for the listing number. You're going to input all of that, and within about 24 hours, the syndication will begin. You only have to do this once per company, but stay with Realty One Group and it's no problem. You only have to do this once. After you activate your ListHub account that initial time, it will automatically pull in all of your listings thereafter. So listhub.com, create an account, fill in the info, and boom, you're done.
And you can only do that after you have your first listing? Obviously.
Correct, because you
Okay.
have to have an
Okay.
MLS number to activate
Okay.
it. So yeah, it has to be after your first listing. And
Okay.
depending on what your MLSs do, we have a strange thing called coming soon in Arizona. And within coming soon status, it won't pull it because it's not allowing syndication yet. So it needs to be active status. And realistically, it probably needs to be inactive status for at least 24 hours before ListHub can find it to pull it in. And it'll tell you if it can't. Say like, hey, we're not finding this listing. And that means just try again tomorrow. Pricing theory. We all know this, but I think that this is a great graph to show it for highly visual people. So oftentimes people wrongfully assume that, oh, I have time to test the market. Testing the market is the worst thing you can possibly do when it comes to price because they directly correlate. So the longer your home is on the market, the direct correlation is the less it's going to sell for. So this is why, again, if they're a little outside of that range, I'm looking to already have those price reductions accounted for in my listing agreement. But they need to understand that what they think is going to happen is not going to happen. It's actually going to be the total opposite. So when they are now 4 months on the market, they are going to chase the market, which means you have to price below market value to attract attention. So this is probably one of the most critical slides in my slide deck, so that you can, again, educate sellers because they don't know what they don't know. And discussing, obviously, the percentage of eligible buyers, what price points they're looking at. And I love this phrase. I've never used it before, but I love it. The importance of intelligent pricing. So if they price outside of this little triangular graph, what are we saying? Like, you're an idiot. I mean, we're not saying that, but we are kind of implying that because this is the importance of intelligent pricing. And if you're not pricing intelligently, you're pricing like an idiot. That's kind of the understood aspect of this. So without coming right out and saying it, I'm already putting into their minds what they need to do. Because remember, they're seeing all of this before we have met, before we've even discussed pricing. I'm preparing them for that meeting. I'm also letting them know what type of buyers are looking where for homes. Okay, again, important. And when my emphasis on my marketing that I'm going to share is very heavily influenced with internet-based marketing, then obviously that's what I want to show, that most buyers are finding their home on the internet. So let me explain to you how my marketing is perfect for getting your home sold. Social media, video. Justin loves good videos. So if you haven't taken some of his video classes, I'd recommend you do it sooner rather than later. And what a cool way to get your clients involved in that process as well. Ultimately, heck, as long as it's not on the MLS, you could do a lifestyle video. They could be the tour guides of their own home. Have some fun with this. I think that there's a lot of potential there that you can share. All right, so that is all part of the Realty One Group pre-listing presentation, aka marketing proposal. Okay, now I'm going to share with you. Remember, I told you don't laugh at my little PowerPoint presentation. That is no longer called a PowerPoint presentation. Here's what I had. Again, it's been a hot minute, but you can kind of understand the basics of what I'm including. One thing that I hate about this, and I would love for all of you to take the content that you want, plagiarize the heck out of it. That's totally fine with me. But make it prettier. This is very word heavy and people don't have the attention span to read through all of this crap anymore. So whatever you can do to convert words into infographics or singular images, that would be my recommendation to you all. I don't even know that they care about who I am or what I'm doing, but I include a brief bio in there just in case. Okay, here's the slide that everybody asks me about all the time. Again, you may have understood at the onset that I tend to have a specific set of vocabulary that I often share when I am teaching or in front of people. I can't help it. It's just creative language. So with that in mind, I've called this slide the C word. The C word being commissions, not the other 4-letter C word that some of you dirty people are thinking about right now. As part of this, our commissions, and you're going to understand why I have maybe rephrased this slightly in the last few months. Our commissions are always negotiable, and the Kramer team offers various commission structures to best suit your needs. Understand, I am not saying you have to offer tiered commissions. I am not saying you have to create packages like this. I am not saying that you have to accept any of these percentage dollar amounts, any of that. I am simply letting you know that in my business, I had great success by not sticking to a single commission fee, but by offering a variety. And I'm also letting them know, while it is negotiable in that I am offering you 3 choices and you get to pick one. Everybody, there is a herd mentality. Okay, this is actually a psychological phenomenon where everybody wants to meet in the middle. That's just kind of the way our brains are wired. And with that, your goal would be whatever your target commission is, whatever that target package is, whatever you want the seller to most likely accept, you want it in the middle and you want it to have the most items listed under it. Okay. If you don't do this, don't worry about it. Just share your commission plan however you see fit. Explain what it is that you're doing and what it is that you're charging. And then you can have that verbal conversation if they want you to reduce or lower. I know things have changed, but when I was doing this, I never was questioned about my commission, ever. I went into the presentation and I would have a copy of this book with me. I would ask them if they had the opportunity to look it over. They're all a bunch of liars and they're like, oh yes, we did. Like, excellent. So let's get right into it. And one of the things that I would cover is I'd flip to this page, say, so I'm glad that you had the opportunity to review the different marketing plans. Which one of these packages would you like? That's it. I'm not opening up the conversation. I'm not doing anything further than they had the opportunity to review it. They lied to me and told me they did. So now I'm going to call them out on it, and I'm going to ask them to pick one. And 9 times out of 10, they would pick the one in the center. And oftentimes they even knew that they were being psychologically bamboozled, right? They would look at me and they're like, well, I'm guessing everybody chooses the one in the middle, right? Well, I don't want to be the cheapskate, but I also don't want to overpay. So they know that this mind game is being played, and they're playing right along with it. I don't care what drives them there. Ultimately, the point is to get them where I want them. So I recommend the tiered structure. Up to you how you want to use it. Like I said, I've had great success with this. Back in my career days, I never lost a listing, not once. And I do attribute that significantly to, yes, I knew a lot of the people, they were referrals, et cetera, but even when I was competing against multiple other agents, I do attribute that high level of success to offering different commission structures. And obviously these numbers and packages have changed over time. Many of these things, I don't even know, quite honestly, what they are. These are things that were provided to me through my title company partnerships, through lender partnerships. And I just went to those respective websites. I pulled up whatever list of stuff was being offered. I copied and pasted it right into my presentation. And now it looks like I'm doing 100 things more than I'm actually doing. But again, these are all part of these packages that I'm offering. Simple things. The dedicated property websites, again, talk to Justin because we have them. The full color flyers, the yard signs, $100 handyman credit. That's a no-brainer. Like $100 for my commission at close of escrow to help compensate you for a couple of repairs that you had to make. Easy, no problem whatsoever. The mobile device tours via text code. Now you can even do the QR scans and you can put those right on your sign. You can put them on the flyers, whatever you need. But just some ideas. If you don't know what some of these things are, like I said, if possible, I don't know what some of these things are, but if you really don't know and you want to reach out to me, you are always welcome to do so. My email address is just leahk@realty1group.com. You will all get that email from me, so you can respond back if you want some further information, and I'm happy to point you in that direction. I also have on here, this is one of the most recent changes, and I don't plan on changing this, guys. So I know that there have been a lot of questions regarding what is going on with the proposed settlement. And all I'm going to say is it's a proposed settlement. Everybody who's talking about, well, we need to start preparing for changes in July. The DOJ hasn't approved anything. Even the NAR president is thinking we're not going to hear by July. So I'm going to operate business as usual for the time being. But I also have to understand that questions may be arising specifically from sellers who are maybe a little more in tune with what's going on in the media. So with that, I have a real simple line that I'm going to adhere to, and it says, we work collaboratively with other agents to help attract the highest number of well-qualified buyers to your home. And all of our marketing plans are structured with that collaboration in mind. And you can see that, right? That all of these packages, they specify how much is going to the listing broker and how much is going to the buyer's agent. And that's just not something that I'm willing to move on. So while they're negotiable, yes, but negotiation is a two-way street. And I am not going to work with a seller who is not willing to pay the commission structures that I've set forth, because I know what it takes to get a home sold. They are not paying the buyer's agent, they are paying me. And that is the best use of my marketing dollars from my commission that I can spend. So that is my commitment. Again, do as you will. I'm not dictating how you run your business, but that is why I've structured this the way I've structured it and why I've phrased it the way I've phrased it. Oh, this looks very familiar. It's like I stole it from something else. Yes. You can get that anywhere. A couple of samples of aerial photography, professional marketing photos. Again, I tried to make this so minimize the words, increase the photos. One thing that I had always done in the past is I purchased a home warranty on behalf of my sellers, and it's a peace of mind thing for everyone. We know how many claims can arise after closing. This helps mitigate some of those complaints. And if you partner with, I usually use American Home Shield or Old Republic, but whatever your partnerships are, many of them offer what they call listing coverage, and it gives you up to 6 months of it being listed where they get the same warranty coverage that the buyer will get for a full year after that. And if it's not free, it's a negligible charge. So I strongly encourage you, if you don't know what listing coverage is and you are a listing agent, contact your home warranty rep ASAP. Because not only will this help you win more listings, but this really is just going to be a winner across the board for all parties involved. We discussed this, the bell curve, the triangle, you have those. Some of the things that I would potentially do is I preview other properties. So I'm not just, oh, let's look at the photos. I'm looking at what else is active and possibly pending in the area because I want to know what we're up against. How does it look, sound, smell when I walk through? Because I need those as a basis for comparison. We're going to discuss a strategy. And again, this may not be one size fits all, but in almost all cases, you need to price well up front so that you can sell for top dollar. I have no idea where this statistic came from. It could be totally false. Statistics aren't like reviewed or validated in any way, shape, or form, as far as I can tell on the internet. But I will say in my experience, this is very true, that pricing is the issue 93% of the time. I will go so far to say that if a home doesn't sell, pricing is the issue 100% of the time, because a home priced well will always sell. Okay, so what I mean by that is, could it sell potentially for more if it's marketed really well? The photos are enticing. There's a video tour. It's attracting multiple buyers. Yes, of course. But if that home is potentially worth $500,000 and we list it for $400,000, I don't care if it's a blurry photo of the front yard, that home will sell. So based on kind of that very broad overview, pricing is the issue. So it's explaining that. And then I start going to checklists. I go into checklists for what I want them to do before I even take the listing. This is probably going to be area specific. There are things in Arizona that we don't have to worry about, like winterizing, that you may have to in other states. And then showtime. So again, I'm setting these expectations of things I want them to do prior to any of those showings. And when I converse with them in person, again, I'm verifying that they have checked all of this over. They're cool with the plan. They understand the expectations and that they don't have any concerns. Questions on any of that?
Leah, this is Matthew Hote.
Hello.
I have a question regarding the two proposals you showed us. We've got the Realty one, generic one, and we've got yours. Are these two different things you're offering, or are these two examples of what to offer for our pre-listing presentation?
These are two different examples. So the initial one is through Realty One Group. That's available for all Realty One Group agents to do with as they will. There's even more pages than what I shared with you. Just a lot of them I don't think were necessarily relevant or necessary for this class. Mine, you are also welcome to take and do as you want with it. You'll have an editable PowerPoint version that you can do. Like I said, you can take whatever you want from that if you are so inclined, or you can just take certain slides or certain information and completely start one from scratch.
Okay, and do you have a separate presentation for when you're actually face-to-face for the full presentation?
No, that's an excellent question. I don't. So I'm bringing a copy of whatever my marketing proposal is. And then I will also have all of my listing docs because I'm expecting I'm going to get the listing. And I'm going to have I'm going to show you a couple of other things here that I usually include as well. And then I also am going to have those 3 comps that I've brought with me so that we can discuss pricing.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. If you're not sure what you want to include in your marketing proposal, I have 32 potential pages for you. For the love of God, do not make your marketing proposal 32 pages long. Okay, we discussed this. People don't like to read. They like pretty photos. I mean, realistically, I should just stick a photo myself and be like, hire me. I'm kidding. At the end of the day, make it so it's probably between 11 and 14 pages long. Things that you think are most critical, whether those checklist and information about you, it's your sales history, what you offer as far as marketing. But I do recommend, again, especially if you're using a tiered commission structure, that's one of the most awkward, difficult conversations for agents to have. And it's a very difficult objection to overcome in person. So I strongly recommend you approach commissions in your marketing proposal and you make it one of the first few pages. But there's, like I said, a ton of them. You'll have some samples of what I'm referring to when I send that email out. Matthew, as I had mentioned, I have a couple of other things, and I include this in that presentation, maybe not in the binding part, but just as additional information inside the box or the packet, the basket that I'm leaving. And one of those things is your home value is seen on the internet. Again, people, be nice to me. This was made in PowerPoint. It is nothing fancy. I'm sure you can do something amazing in Canva or some of those other programs now. And this was obviously taken a while ago because these are no longer prices that are in existence for most of the homes out here. But what I want to show them is I know you've looked at these websites, right? I know you've looked at least one of these. I've looked at them too. And I'm going to approach this head on and show even amongst these different value pages, look at the vast range of difference. Okay, that's a $70,000 difference across these different web pages. But the most critical part about this is that none of these sites account for the 3 most critical parts of pricing a home: location, condition, or upgrades. Well, those are the 3 things upon which we build our pricing. So if that's not even accounting for it, how viable, how realistic do you think this pricing actually is? So again, I know they've looked, so I'm just preemptively striking. Another one, the kids listing agreement. Oh, if they have children, you will win parents over all day by having their kids sign a listing agreement. Realistically, if they're anywhere from the ages of 2 to 25, this is a solid plan. It is based upon what you and their parents and the kid decide are going to be their chores. They're going to be invested in keeping the show or the home show ready at all times. And then the reward can be something as basic as they're going to get ice cream from McDonald's. They're going to get extra screen time. It's going to be an iTunes gift card. They love this. My wildest one, she had 7 kids under the age of 5, and they were so ecstatic to win their little like $5 gift card to McDonald's for all of the work. Their mom would send me videos or photos of them. They picked up their room, they scooped the dog poop, they took the trash out. It was amazing. So I cannot recommend kids listing agreements enough. And there will be a sample one of these. You can modify it in Canva in what I send out. I'm not going to go through these. This is just a little extra content specifically from the Book of Yes. If you haven't read that book, I strongly recommend it. It's a great objection handling book and some very, very crafty phrases that he incorporates into that, specifically as it relates to overpricing. So that will be in there for you as well to add into your scripts. And if at the end of the day you have nothing else to offer, then I give you a recommendation for how to sell yourself apart. Questions?
Love that one.
I wish it wasn't so blurry. Maybe I'll do one myself, and then that'll be part of my presentation from now on.
Talent. Any questions, guys? I mean, man, the recommendations, you sure absolutely delivered on that. And somebody said, love your kid listing agreement. That's very cool. That's the first time I've actually ever seen that. So very unique, right? It's all about that experience. Very, very cool. Someone said, Michelle asked, what are your thoughts on Matterport? I find when I have it, many don't even book a showing.
Yes, so I love Matterport for people who are out of state, and because we have such an influx of specifically Pacific Northwesters coming down here to buy, they love that too. I can't tell you the number of times that has been specifically referenced as sight unseen offers, and that was the source because they were able to walk through the house. The other component is some of these things are not necessarily with the intention of finding a buyer, right? Some of these things are what shiny marketing things can I give to my sellers to help make them choose me and to prove that I'm doing the best job possible to get their home sold. Video is critical. Those 3D tours are awesome. So if for no other reason, then it's trying to secure that listing in the first place.
Very cool. Other questions, guys? We got a few minutes left. Joni said, totally awesome and so grateful for your information and guidance in the Zoom presentation. Love all your suggestions.
Thanks, Jody. Appreciate it.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How long is your like average actual listing presentation when you go to the house? Like how long do you spend with them?
Yes, so typically about an hour. It kind of depends on, did I do a preliminary walkthrough with them or do I need to incorporate that? Because then that's one of the first things I'm going to do. Because if I need to start modifying my mental conception of what I'm going to discuss as value range, because their house is a dump or it's super upgraded, I want to know that before we have that discussion. I had one. They actually were both deaf. So we had to go through me reading lips, her signing to the husband. That was almost a 3-hour appointment. So it's really been everything in between. But I would say plan on at least 60 to 90 minutes if you are doing the walkthrough of the house, discussing pricing, and kind of going through kind of hitting on the highlights of your marketing proposal.
So you said you normally like take your listing agreement with you. Do you normally get it signed while you're there, or like what do you do if they say like they want to interview other agents? Like how do you handle that?
Yeah, so I do, I very frequently would get it signed right there on the spot. And here's the mindset behind that, right? Because I've provided this marketing proposal with a lot of those objections already addressed in advance, I'm assuming if they were not okay with any of that, they were going to cancel the appointment before I walked through the door. So with that in mind, I'm going assuming everything is good. There's a lot of classes on handling these different objections. If it's a good fit, it's a good fit. Even if everything looked right on paper, but you meet and you're not jiving. I mean, that happens sometimes and that's okay. Then I'm using my little phrase and I'm scooting out the door. But if they do want to interview other agents, I encourage it. Say, hey, I think that's a great idea. After you meet with them, do me a favor, give me a call back. Let me know if there's anything we didn't address. And I would love to meet with you a second time so that we can cover anything that might have been a hole in our initial discussion or anything that you think is driving you to make a different decision. There's some other ones depending on how we feel. And I'm super snarky, so take this with a grain of salt. But I'm also one who'd be like, so what do you think you're going to find that's better? You will dumbfound people. It's awesome. Ultimately, I just want to know. Sometimes they think that they have to ask or, they have to interview others. They've been told that. So maybe your question is, oh, did you read about that in a checklist of what to do when you're getting ready to list your house? Or, hey, if you're comfortable with everything that I've shared here today, but you don't want to call and cancel those other appointments, I'll be happy to do that for you. Just give me the name and number of the agents that you're meeting with.
Love it. We have a question from Brisa, and everyone's asking if you're gonna share this stuff. She's gonna get this whole list of everyone that registered and attended today, and she said that she's gonna send a Dropbox link, or Leah, if you send it to me, I can handle the email out to everyone as well. Take that off your plate, but we will get the slides and everything out that she had mentioned today, and this recording will be up on our YouTube channel by tomorrow morning. But Brisa said, might be a dumb, obvious question, but do you need to do this if someone knows they want you to list their home? Would it be a waste of time to put this together, or do you recommend to still do this for them?
I did it for my mom, guys. So I don't take anybody's relationship for granted. They're all gonna get the same 10+ exceptional service that I would give to any client, period. So yes, I strongly recommend, if it's for no other reason than just staying in practice and working on your delivery. Yeah, 100% I recommend doing this every time.
Well, I love this question too from Jenna. I had someone come through my open house last weekend and wanted me to do a CMA right on the spot. She said no, and why I said no, and now she ghosted me. Should I still drop off a pretty package anyways?
Oh yeah, if you know her address, 100% I would.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
mean, I'd probably show up in a tutu, a bikini top, and some, streamers, knock on the door and see if she answers. Just kidding, don't do that, kind of.
Definitely drop it off though.
Definitely drop it off.
Drop something off. Awesome, guys. Any other quick questions? This was awesome.
Oh, my pleasure, guys. Thank you for bearing with me. Hopefully you'll get a little more out of the video. Like I said, I know I'm not from the East Coast. I'm actually native Phoenician. But I appreciate you all sitting through me rambling on for 60 minutes.
Very, very cool. We appreciate your time, Leah. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
Such a valuable hour, just packed full of knowledge. So we'll get all the information out to you guys next week. Next Thursday, we have a broker in Las Vegas that's going to be talking about buyer broker agreements, buyer consultation. So it's the flip side. Today we talked about listings. Next week we're talking about the buyer, and he'll address some more things on NAR and all that kind of stuff. So please go to rockuniversity.com. Make sure you schedule for that class as well. Again, Leah, we thank you so much for your time today. We really, really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. Have a great day, guys. Go get those listings.
Take care, everyone.